Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on today's session. Today's presentation is available in both English and Spanish. To select your preferred language, please click on the globe icon at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If you're selecting Spanish, it's important to note to select mute original audio to hear the Spanish translator clearly. La presentación está disponible en inglés y en español. Para seleccionar su idioma preferido, haga clic en el icono del mundo en la parte inferior derecha de la pantalla. Si selecciona español, también es importante notar que haga clic en Mute Original Audio, poner en mudo audio original, para escuchar al traductor claramente. So as we get situated with our preferred language, I will introduce myself. Good evening again. My name is Alicia Ponce. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful evening. I am principal and founder of AP Monarch, and my team will be facilitating and translating tonight's presentation and giving you an update on Park 596. The project includes a new park, field house, and administrative office building at 48th and Western. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to review some general information about the virtual meeting. We will be recording this meeting. If you prefer to remain anonymous, you may change your name displayed in the Zoom window by using the option at the top right-hand side of your screen. Since this meeting is being presented in 2 languages simultaneously, there will be a brief pause after each speaker to allow the translator time to translate completely. If you experience technical difficulties at any time during the presentation, please send a message via the chat box to tech support. We will have a staff person available through the entire meeting to assist. We ask that everyone in the audience please turn off your cameras and microphones during the presentation to minimize distractions. Your microphone and camera are controlled by icons located at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. In the chat, you will see a link to a sign-in sheet. Please fill it out so that we may accurately record participation for tonight's meeting and add you to the mailing list for Park 596 updates. The meeting tonight will consist of a presentation followed by a question and answer session. We will be collecting questions and comments for the Q&A via the chat function. Questions and comments may be submitted via the chat at any time during the presentation. Once the Q&A starts, questions and comments will be answered in the order they were received. We'll take a break midway through the Q&A to accommodate people who may be unable to submit questions or comments via chat. Please limit your questions to 2 minutes or less. If you find yourself having trouble submitting your question via the chat and cannot resolve the issue with help from tech support, please wait until we call for spoken questions midway through Q&A, and we will accommodate you then. The recorded presentation will be made available via YouTube shortly following this meeting. The project team will share the meeting link publicly on the project website as well as via email to the project mailing list. The project team will follow up with a summary of frequently asked questions about 2 weeks after tonight's meeting to allow for additional questions via the project email. The summary will be made available through the project website and sent to the project mailing list. Again, I'd like to restate for folks just joining us that if you experience technical difficulties at any time during the presentation, please send a message via the chat box to tech support. We'll have a staff person available through the entire meeting to assist. Thanks for joining us tonight. And with that, we'll begin the presentation. Heather, take it away.
Thank you, Alicia. Hello, my name is Heather Gleason, and on behalf of the Chicago Park District, I'd like to thank you for joining us for an update on Park 596. I'd also like to thank Alderman Burke, Alderman Lopez, the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council, and the Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council for all of their input and guidance to date. The continued support of neighbors and local leadership has helped our team develop an exciting vision for this park. Today, we are pleased to share an update on the project and hear questions and comments from the greater community.
Tonight, Heather will share a brief background on the project and community process so far, and will provide an update on construction. John Ronan from John Ronan Architects and Ernie Wong from Site Design Group will share details of the Fieldhouse, administrative office building, and park development now under construction. Following the design presentation, we will answer questions and hear comments from you. In order to help us run the question and answer portion of the meeting efficiently, we welcome you to submit questions or comments using the chat box starting right now and continuing as we move through the presentation. Behind the scenes, our team will review questions and comments and prepare thoughtful responses for the Q&A portion of the meeting. Heather will now share an overview of the project and review the input we have received thus far from the community.
Thank you. For a number of years, the Chicago Park District searched for a new home for its administrative headquarters. The Park District seriously considered 20 different locations. These included sites in the Loop and sites in neighborhoods across the city. After this long search, the Park District selected the site at 48th and Western because it provides significant value to the community and to the agency. The site offers direct access to public transportation via a major bus line and the CTA Orange Line, and the large acreage of the site makes it possible to provide significant indoor and outdoor recreation opportunities for people of all ages and abilities. The park will provide the Brighton Park community area with a transformative investment. Currently, the Brighton Park community area is one of the top 5 community areas underserved by public open space. The new park is repurposing a 17-acre vacant former industrial site into a premier community open space. After selecting the site, the Park District engaged our design team to start planning the new park development and to help us begin to engage the community. So far, the community engagement process has included meetings with the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council, the Back of the Yards Council, Alderman Burke, Alderman Lopez, and parents from Shields Middle School. We had a virtual community meeting last August and published a report summarizing what we heard from the community. Some common themes that emerged were the need for diverse, accessible, and affordable program offerings, as well as indoor-outdoor spaces at Park 596 to accommodate all ages and abilities of neighborhood residents. Prioritization of safety and security of visitors and staff through design and a staffing plan. Ensuring safe pedestrian and vehicular traffic flow in and out around the site, and ensure that parking is available for park users and does not conflict with existing neighborhood parking needs. A desire to incorporate public art on site, and a desire for both construction jobs and permanent jobs for local residents related to the new park development. We've been able to address many of these comments, and we will describe how we've addressed them later in tonight's presentation.
Now we will give a couple of seconds for the interpreter to complete his translation. But thank you, Heather, for the overview. Next, we have architect John Ronan from John Ronan Architects and landscape architect Ernie Wong from Site Design Group. They will share an overview of the design for the building and park. John?
Thanks, Alicia. We're excited to be a part of this project and have the opportunity to share the progress of the construction of it with you here tonight. Park 596 is located along the Chicago Park and Boulevard system. It's a network of major parks connected by green boulevards in Chicago. Our site is marked here on the map on the right in red. It's positioned along a segment of Western Avenue Boulevard between McKinley Park to the north and Gage Park to the south. The site is bounded by Western Avenue to the east, 48th Street to the north, and the Orange Line to the south. Across Rockwell Street to the west is James Shields Middle School. Historic Chicago field houses were typically located at the center of the parks, and these helped organize the surrounding park landscape into different programmatic zones. We adopted this concept and incorporated it into the design of the new Park 596. This is what the park looked like before construction started. The design concept for the park references the Chicago Park and Boulevard system, with a continuous park pathway that widens out periodically into courtyards and plazas. This parkway meanders through the park and bisects the building into two areas. One is the Chicago Park District headquarters, and the other is the field house. Inboard of this path are recreation areas, two artificial turf playing fields accommodating soccer, football, and lacrosse, and a great lawn, which is a grassy, multi-purpose area surrounded by trees. Outboard of the park pathway is a more naturalistic landscape of meadow and tall grasses, which is shown in the lighter green color on the map. To the north of the field house are three recreation areas for small children, a playground, a spray pool, and a nature play area. Pedestrians enter the site from one of 5 plazas on the north and east sides of the park. Vehicular traffic enters the site at 48th Place and continues into the parking lot on the south side of the site. This is a view of the park entrance on Western Avenue, looking towards the headquarters building. The Great Lawn to the west of the building is a large grassy multi-purpose area surrounded by trees. It supports recreation as well as park district and community events, such as movies in the park, Shakespeare in the park, markets, and art fairs. This is a ground floor plan of the field house, which can be entered either from the north or from the south. This is a view of one of the courtyards, which serve as outdoor meeting and relaxation areas, as well as light wells to bring daylight into the center of the building. The walls of the courtyard are made of reclaimed Chicago common brick to root the design in the history of Chicago and the heritage of Brighton Park. The fitness area is comprised of 2 rooms, one for fitness machines, the other for group exercise. Both have views into the courtyard. This is a view of the gymnasium with the built-in bleachers on the left. The club room can be divided into 2 smaller rooms, each with a view of the Great Lawn to the west of the building. On the second level of the field house is an outdoor covered terrace, which can be rented out by the community for parties and events. This is a view from the covered event terrace looking toward the great lawn and playing fields to the west of the building. This is a view of the courtyard at night. Community space is a priority for this project. This slide highlights some of the outdoor spaces that can be reserved for use by the community, the great lawn and playing fields, other community spaces in the building include the field house club rooms and adjoining terrace, the teen center, the group fitness room, the gym, and even the boardroom of the headquarters building can be rented out for events. And of course, the covered event terrace on the second level, which has a catering support space and furniture for storage. At night, the building takes on a lantern-like quality. There will be a pathway and security lighting throughout the park to support public safety. This is an aerial view of the park and headquarters looking northeast with the surrounding community in the foreground and downtown beyond. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ernie Wong from Site Design Group, who's going to tell us more about the playground areas. Ernie?
Thank you, John. Located north of the Great Lawn, the play area is divided into four main components: in entry, plaza, and fountain, traditional playground, natural play area, and sculptural water feature. These play spaces serve as an extension of the surrounding recreational areas, encouraging children to move between the lawn, over small hills, through trees, and between features with ease. The entry plaza welcomes you into the site from the north with a series of pools that fill and drain with water-activated paddles. Sculptural elements and seating surround the fountain. South of the entry plaza, a large traditional playground focuses on climbing, motion, and accessibility through topographical features and custom design elements. This dynamic play space is unlike anything else in Chicago. A water feature serves as a transition between the traditional playground and nature play space, with a bridge allowing dry passage between them. Water moves between varying height stone blocks through the use of a hand pump system and runnel. The easternmost play feature is a natural play area, which includes creative, nature-based play elements to encourage interaction and exploration with nature. This space features a series of free-form build areas, climbing elements, and block features that mimic the city skyline. Vegetation, topography, and unique custom elements, such as upside-down trees, make this a unique play space for children. Tying into the adjacent landscape features, the play spaces will provide diversified, engaging, and unique play experiences for children of all ages and abilities. And I'd like to turn it back over to Heather, please.
Thank you, Ernie. We're excited that construction of the building and park is well underway. We hosted a groundbreaking ceremony with Mayor Lori Lightfoot on July 15th. And since early this summer, excavation and site preparation has been completed. Foundations are currently being poured. Masonry wall construction will begin shortly. Construction is projected to end in early 2023. As we move forward with construction at Park 596, the involvement of minority and women-owned businesses, as well as local hiring, is a priority for the Chicago Park District. The project has a participation requirement of 26% minority-owned businesses, 6% women-owned businesses, and 50% Chicago residents. The Park District also encourages local hiring from surrounding community areas. Our general contractor, Passion, all joint venture, hosted a hiring event on July 28th. For information on construction hiring, please contact Passion at recruiting@fhpassion.com. And for Chicago Park District jobs, please visit www.chicagoparkdistrict.com/jobs.
Thank you, Heather. Next, we will hear from Dennis Gonzalez about programming.
Thank you, Alicia. The Park District has heard your comments about needing accessible and affordable community programs and meeting space in Bryden Park. With this in mind, Park 596 will offer programming for early childhood, youth, teens, adults, and seniors. Early childhood recreation will include programs like Kiddie College, Art and ABCs, Tiny Tot Tumbling, and sports with possible Saturday sports programs. Youth programming will include after-school programs, culture, art, and nature programs, art and dance classes, gymnastics, seasonal sports, and leagues. For teens, there will be Teen Leadership Club, leagues, culture, art, and nature programming, wellness programs, and as we have seen in this presentation, the Teen Center. Programming for adults will include wellness classes like Zumba, strength and conditioning, and leagues. Last but not least, for seniors, we will offer wellness classes, senior clubs, walking club, and group fitness. With the new park and fieldhouse and all the programming comes new job opportunities. We are projecting openings for park supervisor, monthly physical instructors, hourly activity instructors, recreation leaders, monthly attendants, and hourly attendants. These positions would be available not only to the Bryden Park community members, but also Chicago residents at large. To apply for these or any other positions at the Chicago Park District, please visit www.chicagoparkdistrict.com/jobs. At this website, you can create an account and apply for current and future positions.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for the overview, everyone. We see the questions coming through and we are making sure that we are keeping track as they come in. Now we will move into the question and answer portion of this session. We know some of you have provided questions and comments in the chat. Others may have some right now. I'd also like to remind you that we are doing this in Spanish as well, and you can tune in Spanish by clicking on the world icon at the bottom right-hand corner. Como recordatorio, la presentación está en inglés y en español y se puede seleccionar su idioma preferido haciéndole clic al icono del mundo en la parte inferior derecha de la pantalla. Si selecciona español, es importante notar que también haga clic en Mute Original Audio. Es mudar el audio original para escuchar el traductor claramente. So as we are presenting in 2 languages simultaneously, there will be a brief pause, as you've noticed. But I think we're doing pretty good. So if you experience technical difficulties at any time during the Q&A, please send a message via the chat box to tech support. We will have a staff person to assist you. And Sarah White will be moderating the questions and answers.
Thank you, Alicia. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah White, and like Alicia said, I will moderate the question and answer session. We've been collecting questions and comments for Q&A via the live chat function. You've probably seen many of them pop up as we've moved through the presentation. Thanks to everyone who has submitted. You may continue to do so as we work through question and answer period. I will read each question or comment in the order it was received, and I'll ask a member of our project team to respond. Midway through Q&A, we'll pause to accept spoken comments for those folks unable to use the chat for any reason. When we do accept spoken comments, we just ask that you limit your question or comment to under 2 minutes. All right, and we're all going to try to work together here as we kind of navigate the translation situation. So be patient with us. Milo is doing an awesome job as usual. All right, I'm going to start from the top. And the first question that I received, there were some housekeeping questions. I'm going to skip those about the presentation recording and so forth, and just dive into the content questions. So the first question I received was sent to me directly, so it didn't show up in everyone's chat. But the question was, I am concerned about gang activity as there has been recent fatal shootings within blocks. Will there be more police supervision? I'd like to direct this question to Heather.
Thank you, Sarah. So for your question, I think security came up quite a bit in our other public meetings. We don't have control over the police department, but we work very closely with them, and the Park District has its own security team. I will pause there for translation. And then also our site plan included many things to help make security more accessible for the community. So we included site lighting, and we provided clear sight lines through the site. We will also have security cameras within the plan and in the park to be able to provide surveillance of indoor and outdoor public spaces.
All right. Thank you, Heather. Someone give me the sign if I'm speaking over Milo. Next question is another security question. What will be done to ensure that local Black and Brown youth won't be policed while visiting the space that this HQ will be built on? Heather, I think I'll start with you on this one again.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for your question. So all all residents in the city of Chicago are welcome in our parks, and we are building this as a public park to welcome everyone. We want everyone to feel welcome in the space, and a lot of the amenities that you heard Dennis speak about are purposefully included to make sure that we're engaging the community at a lot of different levels. So you heard us talk about the teen centers and the club rooms and the meeting rooms, as well as the fields that people can use for either sports or just the great lawn for hanging out. And so we are intending this space to be available to everyone in the community, regardless of who they are and what their age group is.
I hope everyone is okay. Next question. I don't know this one. I don't know if anyone on our team knows. How many parks are near the Chicago Boulevard system? If not, we will definitely find this out and put it in our summary.
I think it's 26 miles long, and I know there's at least 8 major parks on it, and at least most of those, more than half of those, are themselves on the National Register of Historic Places. But it's 26 miles long, stretching from Jackson Park and through the Midway Plaisance to Washington, and then up to Garfield. And Ernie, this is really yours to answer.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. You mentioned Jackson Park, Washington Park. There is also Humboldt Park, Garfield, Douglas Park on the west side. So there are a number of very big parks that the Boulevard system goes through. But I'll get an exact number.
All right. I think Mila is complete. So I'm going to move on to the next question. What has the Park District done to get input from residents living in Gage Park? It's important to recognize that Back of the Yards and Brighton Park aren't the only surrounding neighborhoods. Gage Park is literally a block away from this location. I think that this is a two-parter. First, I'd like to ask Alicia to talk about some of the engagement that we've done around the park and different groups that we've reached out to, and then maybe pass it to Heather to wrap it up.
Yes, absolutely. So we met early on, we met with the Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council. We had a couple of stakeholder meetings, and we also met with Brighton Park Community Council, and we met with the elementary school. And all of our meetings and recorded data, we have it documented in the summary report, which can be found on the website for Park 596. We have who attended the meeting, the questions that were asked, and how if any questions or comments came up, and how we addressed them.
Thanks, Lacey. I'll pick up from there. And we spent a lot of time, I believe, also flyering a lot of areas, local businesses, whenever we had outreach meetings, so that we were trying to get as broad an audience as we could. But if the folks in Gage Park feel like they don't know enough about the project, certainly we'll have your sign-in information, but we're happy to provide more information or have a staff member reach out to you, and we can discuss it further. But we definitely tried to be as broad as we possibly could. And again, we want everyone welcome at our park here. And so we will certainly endeavor to make sure that everyone's included.
All right, thanks Alicia and Heather. Next question, and I'm going to give this one to Farah. Will local community members be prioritized when it comes down to job opportunities, or will the neighborhood receive white people from outside the community on a daily basis? Farah, can you talk a little bit about how hiring works at the Park District?
Absolutely. And we've posted the website for everyone to start applying now. We hire within, we love hiring from the community at base, especially during summer camps. We hire teens of the community and make it a short distance for them to walk and get to during summer camps. But we hire, we have our diversity office that, will provide any assistance that's needed. Just visit our website and apply for the positions that are posted. And if you have any questions, let us know.
And we'll give a couple of minutes for Milo to interpret the answer, and he'll give us the thumbs up. Okay, all right.
Right. Next question. When was the previous open meeting regarding opening the park and choosing the site? In what ways are the Chicago Park District making this information openly public for everyone to be aware of, especially in selected neighborhoods, other than the internet? So Heather, I am going to kick this one to you to start it off. And if you need backup information on the public meeting, Alicia, I'm sure can help out.
Yeah, and Sarah, we might need some help too in terms of when we started
Yeah.
with the city. So yeah, let me start, and Milo, I will try to go slower. This project has been discussed for the last couple of years. We first had to look for a new home for our headquarters. So to explain a little bit about why we are looking for a new home, we currently lease space downtown from Northwestern Hospital. And our lease is up, and the Park District felt that it was really important, rather than having our staff all in the downtown area, that we get out into the neighborhoods. Obviously, we don't just serve downtown residents, we serve many, many neighborhoods and many residents. And so we really wanted to be out in a place where we could work with the community, hopefully bring a vacant site like we're in here now back to an active space and make it really useful for the community rather than leaving it vacant and contaminated and that sort of thing. So that is how we went about choosing our site. And we did have over 20 in the city that we considered. And Sarah or Alicia, feel free to jump in and provide further details.
Sure, I can jump in a little bit. So so that was a great background. Is Milo, Alicia, can you tell if Milo is caught up?
Thumbs up.
Okay. So I just wanted to address kind of the method that we've been using for public outreach since the beginning of the project. So our first public meeting, we initially intended to host in March 2020, right before everything shut down for COVID. So unfortunately, we were not able to host our in-person meeting as intended, and we have really relied heavily on the internet to help us communicate about this project, both in the form of these kind of in-person virtual meetings and in terms of kind of communication. So we've established a contact list and an email address, so we've been communicating with folks that way. We've engaged with both Alderman Burke and Alderman Lopez's offices to help us spread the word that way. And like Heather mentioned before, we've been out in the neighborhoods passing out paper flyers for our meeting last August and for our meeting this August. So we've been trying to communicate and be in touch with people as best we can, given the kind of circumstances of COVID.
Yes, and I can add, so we started our meetings we started aldermanic meetings in January of 2020. And then in February, we met with the Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council in person. We had parents show up. We had their kids showed up as well at Shields School. And then we also had the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council and in-person meeting as well. We had soccer coaches show up. We had the people from the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council that work in the community. We reached out to the coalition as well, and we had feedback from them. And then in April 16th, we had a narrated presentation posted to the project website. And in August of 2020, we had our virtual community meeting. We had it planned for in person, but then we quickly had to switch over to virtual. And as a result, from January 2020 to August 2020, we have the summary report of recording all of the community's concerns from the design. Everything can be seen on the summary report.
All right, next question. What is being done to ensure that this project won't increase gentrification in local Black and Brown communities? This is a tough one, Heather. I am sending it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. It is a tough question, and we know that it causes a great deal of concern in the communities. The Chicago Park District's main role is to provide open space, quality open space, and programming for neighborhood residents. So we don't have any control over real estate prices surrounding our parks. What we're trying to focus on is putting in quality open space in a community that is very much lacking open space. There's actually not enough open space in Brighton Park, and hopefully providing programming and services to the people who live there now. So gentrification issues in terms of real estate prices is generally addressed more by the city of Chicago and their affordable housing policies, which certainly pervade the whole city and are required when a developer is building housing and that sort of thing. So I realize it's a really tough issue and we are aware of it, but we are, again, we are hopefully bringing services to this community that is for the people who live here now. That is what our intent is, and that is what our hope is, and why we're here talking about what we hope are great things for the community to use in the future.
All right, thanks, Heather. Up next, can y'all share the data that Brighton Park Neighborhood Council and Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council collected? I know that we've got some of our partners from those organizations on the call now. I don't have that data immediately at hand, but we will be happy to work with them and see kind of what's shareable and if it's appropriate to share it as part of our project website or in another way. So we'll look into that. Okay, next question. I noticed that there was a lot of feedback on having a swimming pool in this space, but that the decision was made not to include a pool because within a 10-mile radius, there are access to pools. Can you share further information about what type of considerations were made outside of just the number of pools present to include a pool, to not include a pool and instead include a basketball court? Heather?
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, the community had definitely asked us about swimming in the community and adding a pool. And we did do an analysis. The Park District reviewed the possibility of including an outdoor and indoor pool at the park. And we used level of service standards. And what that means is for pools, there is a level of service of a pool within a 3-mile area. By that standard, we do meet that 3-mile radius. So in other words, there really isn't a gap for swimming pools that exist around that area. We have 12 pools that are owned by the Chicago Park District within 3 miles of this site. And we actually provide programming through CPS at 5 of their pools, also within 3 miles. So total, we have 17 pools within this area. And part of why we decided not to do a swimming pool is because we wanted to make sure that we provided other recreational resources for the community since we had so many pools nearby. We are, however, also looking for other opportunities for us to either provide programming at swimming pools, and we also will certainly look at this issue again. We had talked about doing a Brighton Park framework plan in the future.
All right, thanks, Heather. Next question, and this is, I think, a two-part question that I'll ask Heather to respond to as well as Farah. At the beginning of your presentation, you said that Chicago Park District chose this location because of the accessibility to transportation. What are your plans to make this park accessible for residents of Brighton Park, Back of the Yards, Gage Park, and all of the southwest side of Chicago? If you are not aware, many different gangs live in these neighborhoods and many residents don't have access to transportation. Considering this, how will CPD prioritize that this park is truly accessible for all residents and not just those who live nearby? So I was thinking, Heather, can you maybe address the physical accessibility of the site? And Farah, can you talk about how we make parks accessible for everybody? Start with Heather.
Thanks, Sarah. Sure. So I think when we were talking about transit friendliness, this site is located directly next to the Orange Line Western stop on the CTA, which allows people to access it from all over the city. And there's also numerous bus lines directly across the street from this site. So from a CTA standpoint and people who are just using public transportation, that is a means of transportation. We are also providing, and someone help me with the number, I believe we've got 100 bike parking spaces as well on our site and in our site plans so that anyone who isn't using CTA can also bike to our site, easily walk to our site if they're close by. And so that is how the Park District and this particular project is addressing transit. And Farah, I'll turn it over to you when Milo's done.
And along with what Heather said with the bike, the parking spaces, the buses and the vehicles, we would like to also we're going to be working with the schools to walk for after school, maybe the school buses from schools that would drop the kids off at the park for after school programs. Also working with partners at After School Matters for teen programming. On the weekends, there going to be availability and access for events and such for parking. So we plan on working with our partners in the neighborhoods if there's transportation issues needed. And it's definitely something that happens across the city where kids can't just cross the street because of gang violence to different parks. But with the security and added security that we have with lighting and accessibility, we plan on working on that so everyone has access to the park in a safe way.
All right, I've got 2 comments up next and a question, kind of a repeat of a question that was asked earlier. So I'm going to read the comments and then I'm going to just read through the comments and then proceed to the question and we can try to readdress it. At the beginning, or sorry, well, no, I lost my spot. The first comment, we don't need more police. They've been in our communities for the longest and they don't keep any of us safe. You want to prevent violence, fund youth and programs that help us out with whatever we need. Next comment, If the Chicago Park District is concerned about gang activity, this project can come to a stop and take it up north. Brighton Park community members know this project will result in the over-policing of Black and brown youth. And finally, the reiteration of a question. Y'all skipped over one's question. Let me put it in the chat for y'all again so y'all see it. What will be done to ensure that local Black and brown youth won't be policed while visiting the space that the HQ site will be built on? Heather, do you want to take another stab at this one?
Yeah, I think we did try that earlier. So again, our intent is to provide programming for everyone. We're not the police. so we're not planning on policing anyone on our site. As Farah and Dennis have explained, our goal is to get kids and people into the park to provide programming, whether you're interested in football or soccer or want to just play in the playground or go to the water feature or come and play a basketball game in the gym. So our intent is to increase programming opportunities to try to get people in, not to exclude anyone or police anyone. This is really about bringing much needed open space to the community and providing programming that we hope that you all enjoy and makes living in the city of Chicago a better and pleasant place to be.
Thanks, Heather. Checking that Mila's wrapped up. Okay, another comment about security and policing. As a student from a local high school, policing the teens puts them in more danger than actually giving them help and access to youth programs. Next up, what youth were in these meetings, or was it just a bunch of adults that are discounted from these communities? Alicia, can you talk a little bit about how we engaged youth as part of our process? Oh, Alicia, I think you're on mute. I'm sorry.
There we go. Okay. Yes, so in our community meetings with the Brighton Park Neighborhood Network Coalition and Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council, we had parents along with their children show up to the meetings and give their opinions, give their commentary on what they thought of the new design as far as programming. And again, all of that was documented, and you can see that in the summary report. And all of this was offered in English and in Spanish.
Thanks, Alicia. Next, we've got another question about the pool and some more support for another pool in Brighton Park. I think Heather addressed that earlier, so I'm going to move to the next question. Will there be any youth jobs for teens? Many of my fellow classmates have been finding it's hard to get jobs that are flexible to their class schedules and help them feel part of the community. Sarah, can you address this one, please?
I'm so excited that question came up. We are literally posting our jobs now, so they would have times for after school that high schoolers can work. After school is rec leaders or attendants, also during the weekends. And we're going to work with our athletics department with After School Matters in sports to find those amazing instructors in sports that we can hire while you're teenagers and become instructors in the near future. So definitely visit our website, start your application, and keep an eye out for those jobs. And we normally start classes, or your job can start after 3, 4 o'clock, maybe even 5 in the evening. And also remember that teen center that we have. We want to make sure we promote to the high schools in the area and make it a safe space for you to utilize the facility and the sports programs.
Thanks, Farah. Next question, how will the parking space be managed to the general public? In other words, for those people who aren't using the park space, how will CPD ensure that parking is limited to people who are using the park space? I can take a shot at this one. So the parking lot that's on site will be a gated lot. So it will be secured, and this is really to make sure that commuters don't use it who are taking the Orange Line and sit and park all day. So we're still working out kind of the details of how it will work, but it will likely be parking that is free and available, most likely, to users of the park, but also restrictive so that folks that are using the Orange Line or visiting the neighborhood for other reasons won't be able to take up spaces. All right, next up is another comment and concern about gentrification that could potentially be caused by the park development. And another question, more of an architecture question because I am fascinated by architecture. But why was the use of Chicago common brick meant to reflect the Chicago bungalows that are spread across the south side of Chicago? Also, I am getting some Chicago Public Library Chinatown branch Brian Lee vibes. Was the style inspired by Brian Lee's work as well? John Ronan? Oh, John, I'm sorry, you're muted.
Okay, yeah, the host has to unmute me. Okay. First, why was the Chicago common brick? The Chicago Park District is such an important institution in the city of Chicago. And we really wanted to kind of root it into the history of Chicago and root it to place. And so that's why the Chicago common brick was used. Of course, it's used all over the South Side and in the Brighton Park neighborhood, but other areas of Chicago too. And it's really representative of Chicago. And we felt that that was important, that this shouldn't just be a building that one could pick up and place anywhere. The round shape was really, I felt that the building should have an iconic presence given the importance of the institution, the Chicago Park District, to the citizens of Chicago. This wasn't just a field house. This is the headquarters of a very important civic institution, and it should take on an iconic form in a way that, and we set it back in the park so that it could be seen from all sides and kind of organize the spaces around it. Was it inspired by SOM? No, sadly, no, it wasn't. But I think you'll like it anyway when you come and see the building.
Thanks, John. Next question. Next up, it was sent directly to me, so you might not see it in the chat. And Farah, it's coming your way. In regards to staff hiring, will the Chicago Park District actively recruit Spanish speakers? Disregarding language barriers will continue to limit local family engagement. Farah?
Yes, absolutely. I think it is important to have BIPOC employees work, especially ones that live in around the community. So we're definitely recruiting from around the Brighton Park community, as well as inside the community, in schools, in the churches. And we look for your support for spreading that information for all to apply for our jobs.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Next comment, Sarah Reshley from Brighton Park Neighborhood Council kindly provided her email address in the chat. If anyone wants to reach out to her, I think this was specifically pertaining to the data that they collected. Please feel free to reference the chat for that. We've got another comment about lack of access to pools in the neighborhood, and a note about how CPS pools are closed right now. So that limits the access even further. And then the next comment, a lot of adults think that gangs are consisted only of teens, but you have to consider that so many teens in this have been overlooked by the city and underserved. The problem begins with youth not being listened to. This will be the first time that many teens like myself will have a chance for programs and have a safe space. How will this place really be an open place for students of the community? Will there be any cost for programs or will they be free? Sarah, can you please help us out with this one?
Of course, majority of our teen programs are actually free. We have the teen clubs and also the teen leadership clubs so that we can hear from the teens what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. So we're definitely looking for the leadership of teens as yourself and around the neighborhood to give us that feedback, to provide that open space for you all. So it's sports, it's music, it's art, it's dance. It's all the amenities that we have in the facility are definitely open to teens. And we want to push that leadership for you all.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, next question. Ernie, I'm going to pass this one to you. Are the surrounding sidewalks accessible? I have wheelchairs, but sometimes to walk a block from the park is not accessible. So Ernie, can you talk about accessibility?
Yes. So we, excuse me, all of the sidewalks around the park will be part of this project. And so with all of these comments, the entire park, I think, is going to be accessible. Especially, having access to the building itself and throughout the entire interior pathways as well.
Thank you. Next up, if the public has interest in transforming a vacant space for public park space in conjunction with the Chicago Park District, what is the process for doing this? Is there a process for doing this? There are a lot of vacant spaces on the south side of Chicago that could be transformed into great park spaces. Heather, can you speak to this a little bit?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. And thanks for the question. We definitely get requests to turn vacant spaces into parks. We do have to look at whether or not we have additional parks nearby, partly just so that we can make sure that we can provide staff to be able to provide services to the community. But if people have ideas that they want to share with us about other park spaces, please feel free to reach out to Sarah White or myself. And we are happy to start having that conversation. People do often sometimes just say, hey, I know this vacant lot, my relative owned it, and would the park district be interested in acquiring it? We don't always have the money to acquire vacant lots, but we're certainly happy to have the conversation, especially in a neighborhood like Brighton Park where we are lacking park space. So please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you. Next comment from Sarah Reshley, and she's right. She remembers suggestions about the Park District specifically engaging youth to get their input. If it has not happened, could it still be done? The answer is yes, particularly I think pertaining to programming. So Sarah and then Juan, who commented next, especially youth outside of the organizations we already contacted, we're happy to do so. So please let us know who these folks are and how we can be in touch. Okay, next, last comment in the chat. I know that many of the students from Mansueto High School and Kelly High School have no idea what is happening and what programs are open to them. Okay, so this is more of a comment. So that's good to hear. And we can add them to our list for outreach. And I think Milo, I'm sorry, I got ahead of Milo a bit, so we'll give him a minute. Okay, that concludes the list of questions and comments in the chat for now. Alicia, can we open it up for spoken comments, and then we can revisit the chat before the meeting concludes? Oh, sorry, that's mine. We will now invite spoken comments. Please raise your hand to speak. To raise your hand, click on Raise Hand in the Reactions tab. To respect everyone's time and ensure that we all have a chance to speak, please limit your question or comment to 2 minutes or less. And Laura, did we have a slide that illustrates where the raise your hand function is? Thank you. All right, I'm not seeing any hands. So I'm going to return to the chat. Oh, I think I missed this one. I apologize, Ronnie. Will the park grounds be available or open prior to the headquarters and/or field house next summer? Projected opening was mentioned to be slated in 2023. Heather, can you speak to the construction schedule?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. And by the way, I believe Carlos has a hand raised. So right after that, Carlos will get to you for your spoken comment. Yeah, thank you for the question. So yes, we are planning to be open in 2023. Unfortunately, I think there's a couple of questions about like, can we be in the park before the construction is completed? We really can't do that for your own safety. When we're under construction and we have equipment around, certainly as we go along, we'll be able to give the community updates on construction and where we are in construction. But until the park is completely finished, we won't be able to let people onto the site and use the facilities just for your own safety to make sure that we get our construction crews off the site. And then we will have a big opening so that we can welcome the whole community in to use the site.
Thanks, Heather. And Carlos, would you please unmute yourself? You're welcome to give your question or comment now.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the fact that, the fact that this project is being led by people that don't live in these neighborhoods is very problematic for me, especially because I know that y'all don't know what we need and what our needs are, because the fact that there hasn't been any outreach to the neighborhood of Gage Park where I come from, the fact that I literally live like a block away from this park and I haven't seen any of this information. The only reason I've seen it is because I've gone out of my way to see it. So I think y'all haven't done a good job doing outreach or any of that, and y'all didn't do a good job even asking the community to begin with if they wanted this park. Like, I know y'all hit up like orgs and all that supposedly from the neighborhood, and they do work from the neighborhood supposedly, but like, they don't speak for us. They don't engage in the community as much as people think. Like, y'all need to come down and knock on people's doors and be like, do y'all want this or not? What, and if you do want it, what do you want in it? Do you want a pool? Do you want resources for you? What do you think is the best thing that there is on there? Because I've seen that lot be vacant for so long, and I was like, dang, when are they gonna build something that actually incorporates what people in this neighborhood want? Because like, I think it's very bad that what's another thing is like, we need to also, like, throughout this whole meeting, I've heard Brighton Park, but I haven't really heard Back of the Yards or Gage Park. And if we're gonna put a project in the middle of those three neighborhoods, then that needs to be like something that needs to be brought up way more. And also the developer things, like, I know y'all say y'all don't have control, but like, this looks like something that belongs in Wicker Park. And I'm not saying that we don't need nice things, but I'm saying if the city is gonna bring projects like this, they need to talk to people from here before they do anything like that, because that's out of pocket in my opinion.
Thanks, Carlos. Okay, moving on to the next question, comment really. Just a recommendation. I walk to the Orange Line station for work and it's pretty hard to cross the street since there is no speed limit. I would recommend to make sure it's safe for people to get from the park to the station. And I can respond to this briefly. We will be, as part of the project, installing a new traffic signal and crosswalk at mid-block between the Orange Line station and 48th Street. So there will be a completed signalized intersection all the way across both legs of the Western Avenue Boulevard station there, which I think will make it easier and safer for folks to get between the Orange Line station and the new park. All right, another comment about Western. Avenue is also super busy during rush hour and is a main thoroughfare for large trucks. And there are no sidewalks on the other side, which would make it difficult for people to walk. I'm not sure how this would be accessible to a person with disabilities. I would make sure this is accessible too. So I'm not sure, do we want to pull the site plan back up and just take a look at the new signalized intersection, the plan?
Yeah, let's do that, Sarah.
Okay, Laura, can you please flip us back? And another traffic comment that we can talk about when we get the site plan pulled up: speed bumps anywhere, lots of traffic for sure, extremely busy at peak times. So we'll take a look at that. While
sorry.
Laura's pulling that up, I see a hand up from America Campos. Would you like to unmute yourself and give your comment?
Yes, thank you. So I want to follow up to the question about bilingual staff. Can we get a guarantee that the supervisor will be a bilingual speaker? I think it's really important that the person representing the Chicago Park District and meeting the needs of the community in regards to decisions that are made needs to know how to speak fluent Spanish. And so that needs to be a guarantee, if nothing else, that is one way that we're creating access to the families. So Farah, please, thank you.
Okay, so can I give a personal example? I was the first park supervisor of Pink Tom Park, and I worked with the Pink Tom Advisory Council, and we made sure that the staff was of all, races. We had Latinx represented, we had Asian representation, we had African-American representation, et cetera. So I can't make guarantees, but I would definitely encourage those of Hispanic background and bilingual to apply. So that's why we're pushing it now for our current staff even. And with the park supervisor position, we're also looking for a center director position so that those rentals are separate from what the field house does. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for bilingual. And yes, it is very important to have that availability, but we can't make any promises. They are part of a union, so the hiring process is the same and it's fair. So we're definitely going to work on making sure staff is of all races and culture, but definitely have that opportunity for bilingual staff to work.
And that is great to hear. I'm glad that, we're giving access to everybody, but it needs to be someone that is fluent. You cannot have someone that is not fluent in a neighborhood, in a park that surrounds all Spanish-speaking communities. And it needs to be a well-paid job so that the person that is qualified to communicate effectively with the community in Spanish and English fluently will want to work there. So yes, I appreciate that you're sharing your background. I just think we really need to be intentional. We cannot get that wrong. I just want to emphasize that as many times as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think that we are going to look back at the site plan here and talk a little bit about some of the intersection and pedestrian improvements we're making outside of the site itself. So I just wanted to point out the signalized intersection we're adding to Southwestern Avenue. So you can see here's the Orange Line station. Here's a bus drop-off area or like a kiss and ride area. And here's our new crosswalk and signalized intersection. So coming from or going to the train station, you will walk on the sidewalk that's closest to the bus drop-off, and then you can safely cross Western at the signal. So that's what we're adding there. And then, like Ernie said, we'll be improving the sidewalks all around the perimeter of the site, and they'll all be accessible. And we've got another comment in the chat related to this topic. It's hard because we also have to be aware how this affects inequities in ticketing. For example, Black and brown communities get more policed and ticketed. At the same time, there's a lack of sidewalks and crosswalks on Western. All right, one more question just popped up. Not sure if anyone asked this question yet, but will there be bike racks and bike paths? So we talked about this a little bit, and I'm glad we have the site plan pulled up. There won't be dedicated bike paths through the site, but we're definitely encouraging bike access. We have over 100 bike racks included in the site plan, most of which are located here by a secondary entrance to the building. One more comment. This is a huge plus for the southwest side with anything new. It'll get some getting used to, and nothing is 100% satisfactory. Oh, and this, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you couldn't see my pointer. So just to clarify, the bike parking is at the south side of the building, and the intersection is mid-block between 48th and the train station. Sorry, I couldn't be more clear on that. All right, I'm not seeing any more messages in the chat. I can invite spoken comments one more time if anyone wants to raise their hand. One more just came in. Will there be any additional community meetings? Heather, can you kind of talk about how we're going to be in touch with the community following tonight?
Sure, absolutely. So as we mentioned, we are under construction, and we will periodically be updating the community on how construction is going. We do hopefully will have very shortly a webcam that will show how construction is going. So those of you who want to see it live on the internet or something, we'll be able to share that with you. But that is our current plan. And then I will turn it over to Farah as we get closer to opening, maybe to talk about how we will engage the community on programming.
So we are creating a survey to get feedback, and we're glad that we have some advice to reach out to those high schools in the near area to get feedback on what programming wants. So we're going to go to the senior centers across the street on Western and get their feedback on programming. We're going to talk to the sports leagues and the families, and we definitely want you all to visit the Park 596 website to leave your comments. So you'll find the survey and leave us information on the type of programming that you'd like to see.
All right, one more comment in the chat expressing concern and setting an example of gentrification local in the neighborhood. So point duly noted, thank you. And then I'm going to move to another request for a spoken comment. Anita, can you please unmute yourself and speak?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, I was trying to sign in for the meeting and I wasn't able to. For some reason, it wouldn't work on my link. So I'm wondering if we're going to be getting the people that register for this meeting direct messages or updates.
Yes. So let's see. We'll try to post the link again. So please give it another shot. And if it's not working for other people, please let us know in the chat. Yeah, the intention is if you sign in tonight with your name and email address, we'll add you to our email list for project updates. So we established a list as part of our previous community engagement, and we will add to it based on participation tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us again, for sharing your thoughts. We absolutely appreciate all of your comments and your questions. We value your input greatly as we move forward with Park 596. If you have not already, please fill out the sign-in sheet. The link is in the chat. This way we can record your participation and you can receive updates on the project. Here are some important links related to Park 596. feel free to a screenshot. These links will also be posted on the project website and in the chat. For me and for the team, it has been a pleasure spending time with you today and again, hearing your comments. We appreciate your participation. We are committed to this project and to seeing it open to the public because we know it'll make an incredibly positive impact in the lives of the residents that live nearby. Thank you.